Welcome to Titanic Legacy, a podcast that explores Titanic's lasting impact through conversations with creative, interesting, and inspirational people who keep the Ship of Dreams legacy not only alive, but thriving through their creative work, hobbies, storytelling, conversations, whatever they're working on. Hi, I'm your host, Paul Carganilla, and I have had on the show authors, artists, historians, actors, filmmakers, musicians, entrepreneurs, video game developers, deep sea divers who continue to be inspired by the Ship of Dreams. But I can honestly say I've never had a coffee maker on the show, and I'm excited today to introduce you to a coffee maker who's breaking new grounds and brewing new grounds through the Crew 1912 Coffee Company. According to the website, Crew 1912 Coffee isn't just about caffeine, it's about character. Inspired by the brave men who worked below deck on Titanic, their coffee pays tribute to the relentless spirit that kept the ship alive. Each blend is crafted to honor their story, bold, dark, and full of depth. When you sip Crew 1912, you're not just drinking coffee, you're carrying a legacy forward. Let's meet one of the creators of this new coffee, what would you call it, concoction blend?
Yeah.
Crew
I would like
1912? Give it up for Branden Moyer. Thank you
Thanks,
for joining
guys.
us. Yeah. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. It is still morning over there on the East Coast. Thank you for joining us. I have the pleasure throughout these conversations to visit with people all over the planet, and I appreciate your time as always. Can't wait to talk about this. But Branden, first, let's talk about you as a human. Give me your origin story.
Yeah. So my origin story starts in Pennsylvania, born and raised here. After high school, I worked for the Walt Disney World Company, went down to be an Imagineer, and came back cleaning toilets, actually. Got into a custodian and housekeeping department there and actually loved it. The interaction with the guests and experiences, I got to meet a handful of people maybe no one will ever meet in their life, and just by being a janitor. And it was really all inspiring, and it humbled me at such a young age. But I always knew that I was a storyteller with whatever I was going to get into. And I came back to Pennsylvania, started my own cleaning company. Been running that for 11 years. And over the course of the pandemic, I got into beekeeping. And yeah, I'm a beekeeper too.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so it was. With that said, it kind of reintroduced the storytelling aspect for me. Rebranded the whole cleaning company called Made to Be Clean. So a little play on words there.
Yeah.
But that also really gave me an opportunity to look even deeper of what I can do. If I can rebrand a struggling cleaning company into something that has never been really done in our area, what else can I do and create? So I created an agency called Buzz Brands. And Buzz Brands is specifically to create brands and products and services that challenge the status quo through storytelling and experiential branding. And Crew 1912 is actually part of that sub-brand. So Buzz Brands is a parent company that will own the Crew 1912 brand, and will help it get into the world through a subscription box program, which we have planned. And actually 7 days we'll have the first pre-orders coming in. So we're super, super excited about our first brew, the Above Deck Brew, which is a medium blend, if you will. I have notes of milk chocolate, graham cracker, and orange. It's a fantastic blend, and we're super excited to tell a story while you sip on that coffee in the morning.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of
course.
all, I didn't know we had this connection. We just met moments before we started recording here, and I worked for the Walt Disney Parks for 15 years here in California. So I definitely know what you mean about the interesting people that you meet that are, regular Disney aficionados that frequent the park, and you get to know as a performer. You get to know the pass holders, and I've actually made some lifelong friends from that relationship or from that profession. But so you created your own beekeeping company. What's so interesting, especially through the conversations that I have with this podcast, is the people who during pandemic finally started to do stuff that they had wanted to do or were passionate about before and never did. And so how does one become a beekeeper in Pennsylvania?
Many late nights on YouTube.
YouTube University, sure.
Yep. YouTube University. It's honestly, it is the best for someone who has a wild imagination like myself, with a little sprinkle of ADHD on top of that. That's how it becomes. I think, going through a period like COVID, which is a dark time for many people, especially small business owners, being forced to stay at home and not work, which was radical. I mean, especially in the country where, the American dream is to build something and to live off of it. And now you're told you can't. So I think that forced people into a construct of being very uncomfortable. But as someone who loves business, loves creating things, my world is always uncomfortable because we're always going for the next thing. We're trying to improve things. So I had 4 months of time to think and reflect. It's like, I want to learn something new during this time, and not knowing it would be 4 months, but, so late nights of YouTube, beekeeping. And it was like, I caught the buzz, if you will.
But tell me what are the first steps? This is fascinating to me. Sorry. So how do you get bees?
Yes. So it's very interesting. You have to buy a package of bees that gets shipped through the United States Postal Service.
What?
Yes. And they come in this wooden box with a very thin wire mesh frame for them to breathe. But you can see all the little legs kind of going through the wire frame. And there's about 3,000 to 5,000 honeybees in that package of bees. And then the one queen is in a small rectangle box sitting up top next to a can of sugar water for them to drink out of over their course of travel. And, I bought all my equipment off of Amazon, including the bee boxes, the bee suit, the tools. Once you get all that set up and your bees come, you crack open the top and you literally dump the bees inside the hive. And then you take the queen, you rubber band that square box against the one frame, and there's a marshmallow cap that they'll eat through. It takes about 2 days, and they'll finally get to the queen, and then she'll come out and she'll do her queen bee thing. It's fascinating because each bee has their own personality.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many times have you been stung? Have you ever been stung?
Many, many times.
Okay.
Yep. You actually get used to it, and we call them love stings.
One more question. I swear we'll get off the bees, but
No, it's all good.
I know we're here to talk about coffee, but I'm just so fascinated. Don't bees only have like a 2 or 3 day lifespan?
So they have a very short lifespan. It's much longer than 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
So during the spring, summer, and fall, the worker bee's lifespan is about 7 to 8 weeks. The queen bee herself will live 3 to 5 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and she'll lay about 250,000 eggs a year. So that's 2,500 eggs a day. A
That's
day, yes.
Yeah, okay. So we can afford, and I know we're going through a bee shortage, or at least we were recently.
Yeah,
So
so like the honeybees really took a huge hit over the last winter that we've had. I believe the country lost 1.2 million hives, which accounted for, I think it was 62% of the nation's hives.
wow,
Yeah, so yeah, and
that's
if
like
that continues, then there's food shortages and honey prices will skyrocket.
that's more intense than a Thanos snap. Two
Yeah,
percent.
yeah,
Wow.
more than 50%.
Sheesh. Okay, so you got your bee business going, and then how does that turn to coffee?
Yeah, so I'm not a coffee maker. Um, I I fail in the manufacturing aspect of things. What I really my zone of genius is taking products that already exist from local folks here in Pennsylvania, and not just repackaging it, but repackaging it in a way that tells a story. And this came out of nowhere. Crew 1912, like many of my brands and ideas do, but they are attached to inspiration. And the latest National Geographic documentary that came out, I believe in April, when they released that 750,000 digital images that all came together to
Mhm.
create the most elaborate and accurate model of the shipwreck that we have. They noticed that in the bottom, in the boiler room, the steam pipe was still open, indicating that people were still in there while she was going down to provide enough steam to provide the electricity to get everyone, to safety essentially.
Right.
And that really that gave me goosebumps the moment that they said that. And it's like, why is that story not being told more? When we think of Titanic, we think of uh, the first class passengers who were aboard, um, and we sort of put off to the side the people that actually ran her until the last second, literally, and they never saw daylight ever again. So I felt like there was a story to be told, and again, as a storyteller, I like to bring light to that. I like to highlight the crewmen who, built her, who forged the steel, who kept the engines going, who provided the electricity, who helped the passengers get on lifeboats, knowing that they themselves will not see those lifeboats. Those are the human impacts that I want to capture with Crew 1912 Coffee. And I chose coffee because I mean, I could have chose anything, but I chose coffee because it's the first thing I drink in the morning. And it gives me time to reflect for my day before everything goes hectic. And I felt like this could be an opportunity for our customers to reflect as well by listening to a story, a quick story. It's not going to take much time out of your day, but it gives you something to appreciate the sacrifice men and women have done. Whether it's the Titanic disaster, whether it's Pearl Harbor, whether it's September 11th, this Crew 1912 pays homage to the human spirit when we are faced with disaster. So that's what I want to accomplish with this.
So are the stories on the coffee box? How do we reflect on those stories during the coffee?
Yeah. So
Coffee.
we first want to start out with our subscription boxes, which I have, as you can see behind me. These are 4 samples that we have. So we want to make sure that in every box we provide a mug that you're going to sip on. So this is a sample of what we're going to produce. Very tin, this is definitely something that the crewmen would have drank out of their tin material. but we wanted to obviously pay homage to Titanic as well. So that's the first thing you'll get to use. And we're thinking about putting a story on the mugs themselves. And when I say story, not just words you're going to read on there. We want it to be a tech-savvy storytelling box, essentially. And when you scan either the mug or the person inside the box, as you can see, it's very elaborate artwork inside. They come alive as an augmented feature on your phone, and they tell you their story, and they tell you whether they survived or not.
If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, he's got a box, and inside there's some beautiful artwork. And the one he just opened, it has Violet Jessup in there. Everybody, all Titanic enthusiasts know her and her story, but that's fascinating. So each box in this subscription that you get has a different crew member.
That's correct. Yep. So, and we want to make sure her story and their story is told in a way that has never really been done with coffee. Now, are you a wine drinker?
But of course.
Of course. So have you ever purchased 19 Crimes?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Okay.
In a much simpler version, something that people can also collect. So we made the box. Now, apologies for my lighting, but this is actually the hull of the Titanic. I'm not sure if you can see the rivets.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not. Okay, so you can. And then the portholes. So, but then there's this. So when you collect all 6 boxes and you put these side by side, you actually form the shape of the wireframe design of the Titanic. So we want this to be a collector's gift, essentially. Something that has meaning, something that's not going to be thrown away in the trash, you know?
So tell me about the process once you start your subscription. How often do you get a box? How does that all work?
Yep. So you'll get a box once a month with 12 ounces of coffee. We are thinking about putting an option, whether it's light, medium, or dark, just because people have preferences. We don't want to overly complicate this just for operating reasons. But we want people to get the best experience and enjoy the best cup of coffee as they can.
Do you have plans for a, in honor of Chief Joffin, whiskey or brandy, a brandy box? Because I'd love some of that. With a flask. No.
So in terms of selling that, we'd have to partner up with somebody that would hold the liquor license to do that. But if someone is listening to this podcast and has a company based on that, we would love to, somehow form a partnership with getting something like that out there, because I am a whiskey drinker as well, light. Wow. I don't do it often, but I have a cold, fresh whiskey in the fridge right now that we can crack open. But I want to make sure that whatever media we use, whether it's coffee, whiskey, honey, it tells the story. With branding, it's not the service or the product that people care about. It's the why they have it in their hands. And it's the why it's so attractive. And then we figure out who that's for. So, and then just another caveat to everything. If you sign up for the 6 months, you get our iced coffee reserve box, which is not for everybody. But if you do sign up for the 6 months, you'll be able to get this. A lot of goodies inside, even some iceberg ice trays for that, maybe that whiskey. Just keep things cold, or iced coffee we have, which is what would be in here. And the cool thing is the night sky. I don't know if you probably can't see it, but maybe we actually tried matching the night sky with the same night of the Titanic when she sunk.
Very
So
cool.
those are the little fine details as a creator that I want to put into these boxes. And Crew 1912 coffee serves as sort of a beta test of what is possible for other mechanisms that we want to create down the line for buzz brands.
I can just picture, a nice Sunday morning, having my Violet Jessup coffee and spiking it with some Chief Baker Charles Joffin whiskey. So maybe that's in our future. Tell me about your relationship with Titanic. Were you interested in it before this past April and the National Geographic thing came out, or was that just kind of a lightning rod moment for you?
Oh, I've been a Titanic lover since the film. I think a lot of people have. I mean, I was born in '89, so the film came out in what, '97? Is that correct?
Yep.
So I was 8. That was the first movie that I've seen at that time twice in a row. So 6 hours in a movie theater. Um, but it was new because it's like there was couples around me. They were. I think Titanic inspired couples, to rekindle that flame, you through disaster. And that's what I saw as an 8-year-old with
Hmm.
Titanic. And it's like, that's the first movie that I saw couples next to me kissing, which is weird. It's like, but I, from an adult perspective now, I can see, Jack and Rose and the dynamic that they played. And of course, the drawing scene, as an 8-year-old, that was completely new to me,
Yeah.
like, oh, so yeah. But that's where it started. Of course, you see pictures and, videos, but as an adult and a storyteller, I can greatly appreciate now, knowing what it's served to the public and what we've learned just as the disaster in general. So
Yeah. What's fascinating is talking to people through this show and just, at gatherings. A lot of people came to Titanic between the ages 6 and 8. And it's always like
mhm.
right in that framework of their life where they get hooked and find themselves to be Titanic enthusiasts throughout the rest of their life. It's really interesting. So was it mostly I know you wanted to be an engineer, so it was very probably inspirational to you, James Cameron's vision, but was it mostly the movie or were you interested in the history of it as well?
Oh yeah. um, the movie set the spark, but the actual disaster itself, always wanted to go to be a mechanical engineer for the Walt Disney World Company. And I've always loved engineering. I've always loved how, as a species, we are able to dig things up from the ground, create, metal, steel, iron out of that, and then shape it and sculpt it using physics, chemistry, and just being able to create a machine with millions of working parts and use it as a way just to transport people back and forth. And then and then of course you have the art, you have the architecture inside, the interior design. I mean, the Titanic and other ships were a movable museum, essentially, a snapshot of the current technologies, the current mindsets, the political climate. That's what these mechanisms are used for, in my perspective. And I always like to dissect that. But in terms of like the disaster aspect, uh, not even God could sink this ship, and obviously it was sunk in 2 hours 20 minutes, um, by sheer dumb luck, if you will. I mean, I, what are the
So many
chances?
things had to line up, right?
Right. I mean, that iceberg had to break off at just the right time, travel the hundreds of miles. I mean, you have open ocean. You literally have open ocean, and you know, just that one cold night. It sounds like a perfect novel. That one starry cold night.
Yep.
And, of course, then when we look into it, politics served a huge play into it. The number of lifeboats as well. And there's many factors that I can go on and on with. But I want to make sure that the story being told is the story of the people who sacrificed themselves and even continued to after the disaster. So
fascinating. Yeah. Some of those, it is, I think it continues to echo through time because of all of the stories of the humans, not just the humans, but the circumstances. And it's just we keep going back to it because there's just so much there that is fascinating and tragic. And we take a lot from it. And obviously, it's left a legacy. As it says on your website, when you sip Crew 1912, you're not just drinking coffee, you're carrying a legacy forward. And that is what this podcast aims to do. And I thank you for spending the time with us to tell us about your coffee. Tell us, how can people get it? How can we subscribe?
Yeah. So head on over to crew1912coffee.com. You can visit our Facebook page as well. You can join the wait list. And like I said, in 7 days, we're going to be opening up to pre-orders. And then November 11th is going to be our cutoff to at least get the box out before Christmas time. If you order after November 11th, we really can't guarantee, but we're going to try our best. We already have a number of people, especially from the UK, who have found out about this, and probably the same way that you have found out with joining Titanic groups and such. So we're very excited to launch this, and we're very excited to see the future of this. I think it's going to start with Titanic, and it's going to evolve in other aspects. I mean, we have her sister ships as well. So especially Britannic,
And we're recording this on the 4th. So he says 7 days from now, it's going to be October 11th.
Yep.
And you can order through November 11th. So you have a month to get your orders in to get your first subscription box by Christmas at crew1912coffee.com. And thank you for your time, Branden. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before we say goodbye?
I want to thank you, thank the guests for coming on here and listening. And we really hope that people can learn things that maybe they didn't think of before. And we are always taking, critiques. If anyone wants to maybe add somebody we think should be a part of this package or additional boxes, please let us know. This is the beauty of testing a product like this, is the feedback. The public has the power, and we want to be able to, again, make sure we're telling the right stories to the right people, and carrying the Titanic legacy and what she truly meant to the world onward.
Well, I just definitely want to push for this Chief Baker Charles Ruff and whiskey. We're going to make that happen. And
I think
moving forward, it's got to be a thing in the world. Thank you, Branden. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. If you're not subscribed yet, please be sure to hit that button. I want to say thank you one more time to our guest, Branden Moyer from Crew 1912 Coffee. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Again, I know that the most valuable thing everybody out there has, everybody in the world has, is their time. So I thank you for spending it with us. And until the next episode, seize the day. Follow your heart's fire. Make each day count. Bye, everybody.